I wasn't really like ready to speak on anything, especially when it comes to religion or Christianity, or I kind of been writing things about my life, my youth. Um, but I do want to speak on this because, this thing of the secret rapture or the rapture happening the 23rd. I was adopted when I was almost 5 years old by my biological paternal aunt. And Mama had, for whatever reason, found religion right before they adopted us. I mean, she grew up in a religious household, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Um, but Mama became more like a fanatic, and she would absolutely stand there and stomp her foot and say, Renee, that is not true. It is absolutely true. The number of times in my lifetime that I have heard of secret raptures and God is coming this day, I distinctly remember, I think it was in the early 90s, probably before I had, or right around the time I had both of my two oldest children, that it was supposed to happen on September 3rd of that year. And I just remember that date specifically because it was my first wedding anniversary. And I remember even, way back before that, I remember when Mama started with this rapture thing and going up to heaven. I was about 7 when she started talking to me about it. And I call them rapture drills because I can't think of any other way to word it. But Mama would basically, mostly with me, I don't know, maybe my little brother does remember the talks. He's 2 years younger than me. But I remember her having conversations with me about how there were supplies and food and blankets and things like that in the basement. I was 7. Okay, first of all, what makes you think you're holier? You're more worthy than a child to be lifted up into the rapture. But Mama would say, you might wake up one morning and you'll go to my room, or you won't smell breakfast cooking, and you'll go to my room and you'll see my nightgown and my fillings laying on the floor, and I'll be gone. She said, that's when you're going to know that the Lord has come back for me. And, she said, I don't know what will happen to you, daddy, my adopted daddy. But go in the basement and ration your food and don't come out for anybody. She would tell us how we were going to be given a choice of having our limbs cut off one by one, toes, fingers, hands, arms. But anyway, what happened was I heard that so much as a child. It was talked about so much in front of me. I mean, my adopted daddy was not religious, by the way. He was actually a heavy drinker and a really hateful prick. But you know, I heard it so much. It was so indoctrined into me that I think around the age of 9 or 10, I started having apocalyptic nightmares. And these were taken as visions of God, a vision from God. And I don't know how I felt about it as a child, but I had those dreams a lot throughout my adolescence. I think my point is, in later years, when my husband Julian was alive and he wanted to go to church, he was a Seventh day Adventist. And what I learned in that church was the profoundly true words in the Bible, the things that weren't there and are there. And, they skipped around a lot of the stuff just like other religions do. So don't be like, I'm not religious anymore. I am leaning towards being an atheist, but I'm not ready to give up the thought of a creator. It's just not the one in the Bible that I was taught. I have a hard time with a God who loves you, but he'll kill you. That kind of thing. I have a hard time with a God who would create a son only to kill him. I have a problem with a God who would, order a man to take his son up on a mountain and kill him. But I challenge anybody to show me the scriptures about the secret rapture. And I've not studied the Bible in a long time. I've actually bought one recently because of losing my religion. I know a lot of you religious people, I know how you're going to take that. You're going to pray that God helps me find God. And I'm not going to, because I have seen too much. I have experienced too much from Christians, from Bible thumpers. I see who you really are. And you will not convince me that you are good people when you are just, let's just put it that way. There's a lot of you out there who I know go to church and are involved in church, and you're good people. I think that the corruption and the misleading and the lies are the further up in the church. I've just seen too much of it. But the rapture is not there. A secret rapture is not there. It never made any sense to me that Mama talked about the rapture, and then there would be 3.5 years of famine and plague or some shit like that. We live in a day and age where they can fool us into believing anything is possible. It's really getting hard to tell AI from the real stuff. And some of y'all out there, some people are going to be fooled, and you're going to be misled, and you're going to be drugged down with the ones who are misleading you and fooling you. But either you read that whole book and take it wholly as it is, not HOLY, or you put it down and you stop believing that bullshit. That's my 2 cents.